"You smell amazing," she said softly. And suddenly, I couldn't escape her gaze. The fragrant encounter. The biodome hummed softly with recycled air as Marcus moved between rows of exotic specimens, his tablet glowing in the dim evening light. He'd always preferred working after hours, when the facility emptied and he could lose himself in the silent conversation with his plants. Tonight, he was monitoring the Andromeda nightshade, a temperamental species that only bloomed under specific lunar cycle simulations. "The purple ones smell sweetest," a voice said from behind him, melodic and unfamiliar. Marcus spun around, nearly dropping his tablet. A woman stood at the pathway's edge, her features striking in a way he couldn't quite place. Her skin held a faint luminescence, subtle enough that he might have imagined it, and her eyes reflected the grow lights like polished gems. She wore earth clothing, a simple flowing dress, but something about her presence felt otherworldly. "I'm sorry, the gardens are closed to visitors after 7, Marcus said, though his usual firmness wavered. Something about her made his practiced professionalism falter. She stepped closer, tilting her head with evident curiosity. "I received special clearance. I'm Serena, from the Valarian Cultural Exchange Program. They told me I could observe the gardens." Her gaze swept over him with an intensity that made his skin warm. "But they didn't mention the gardens would have such an interesting caretaker." Marcus felt heat rise to his cheeks. "I'm Marcus, Dr. Webb. I study xenobotany, alien plant life." He gestured awkwardly at the specimens around them. "These are from various systems we've established contact with." Serena moved through the rows with graceful curiosity, pausing occasionally to lean close to a flower. Marcus found himself watching the way she moved, fluid and unhurried, as though gravity affected her differently. When she reached a cluster of celestial jasmine, she closed her eyes and inhaled deeply. "This one reminds me of home," she said softly, then turned to face him directly. The distance between them had somehow shortened. "But there's another scent here, something warmer." She took a step closer, her eyes never leaving his. "You smell amazing." The words were simple, almost innocent, but the way she said them, barely above a whisper, with her gaze locked on his, sent electricity down his spine. Marcus found he couldn't look away, couldn't form a coherent response. The air between them felt charged, heavy with something unspoken. "I thank you," he managed, his voice rougher than intended. "It's probably just the garden's influence. Some of these plants release pheromones that—" "No," Serena interrupted gently, moving even closer. "It's you. On my world, we're quite sensitive to individual scents. Each person has their own signature." She smiled, and it transformed her entire face into something radiant. "Yours is fascinating. Like thunderstorms and fresh earth and something I can't quite identify." Marcus swallowed hard. Professional boundaries seemed to dissolve in the warm, fragrant air. "And what does that mean exactly, on your world?" Her smile deepened, becoming almost playful. "It means I'd very much like to stay and learn more about your gardens, Dr. Webb, if you'll permit me." Moonlit Confessions. Marcus led Serena deeper into the biodome, acutely aware of how close she walked beside him. Their shoulders brushed occasionally, each contact sending warmth spreading through his chest. He tried to focus on his role as guide, explaining the careful climate controls and specialized lighting systems, but her presence kept derailing his thoughts. "This section simulates lunar cycles from different worlds," he explained, gesturing toward a canopy where silver-white lights filtered through crystalline leaves. "Right now, it's set to mimic a 3-moon configuration from the Helios system."
Serena gazed upward, her face illuminated by the artificial moonlight. It's beautiful. On Valeron, we have twin moons that dance around each other. Lovers often meet beneath them. She glanced at him, something meaningful in her expression. We believe the moons witness the truth of what people feel but don't say. That's a lovely tradition, Marcus said, his throat suddenly dry. Is that why you're here, to study human traditions? In a way. Serena turned to face him fully, the moonlight casting shadows that accentuated her elegant features. My specialty is emotional connections, how different species experience intimacy, attraction, bonding. Your species fascinates me because you seem to feel so deeply, yet you hide so much. Marcus leaned against a railing overlooking a small pool filled with floating luminescent flowers. We're not always good at expressing ourselves, he admitted. Sometimes it feels safer to keep things hidden. Even when the attraction is obvious? Serena moved to stand beside him, close enough that he could feel the warmth radiating from her skin. Even when every glance carries weight? His heart hammered against his ribs. Especially then, the risk of misreading signals, of crossing lines. He trailed off, hyper-aware of her proximity. Serena reached out slowly, giving him time to move away, and placed her hand over his on the railing. Her touch was warm, her finger slightly cooler than human standard. On my world, we're more direct. When we feel drawn to someone, we acknowledge it. We explore it. Her thumb traced a gentle circle on his hand. Would you find that approach too bold? Marcus turned his hand over, allowing their palms to meet. The simple gesture felt monumental. I think I'd find it refreshing. Terrifying, but refreshing. Tell me what terrifies you, she said softly, stepping closer until mere inches separated them. This. You. The fact that I just met you, but I can't stop thinking about how your voice sounds, how you move, the way you look at me like you can see straight through all my carefully maintained walls. Serena's free hand rose to trace the line of his jaw, feather light. On if I told you I feel the same pull? That from the moment I caught your scent, something in me recognized something in you? I'd say that sounds impossible, Marcus whispered, though he made no move to step back. We're from different worlds, different species. Does your heart know the difference? She leaned closer, her forehead nearly touching his. Because mine doesn't. It only knows that being near you feels right in a way I've rarely experienced. Marcus lifted his free hand to her waist, a question in the gesture. When she moved into his touch, he drew her closer. I study alien life every day, but I never expected to feel this kind of connection. Then let yourself feel it. Teach me about how humans navigate this, the courtship, the gradual revealing. I want to understand, but more than that. She paused, her breath warm against his lips. I want to experience it with you.
The lesson in longing. They found themselves in a secluded corner of the biodome where flowering vines created a natural alcove. Marcus had meant to show Serena the rare twilight orchids, but the pretense of a botanical tour had dissolved into something far more intimate. They sat on a curved bench, their bodies angled toward each other, knees touching. So, explain it to me, Serena said, her voice carrying genuine curiosity beneath the obvious attraction. How do humans show interest without stating it directly? Marcus smiled, relaxing slightly into the role of teacher, though his pulse still raced. Well, there are the obvious signs. Eye contact that lasts just a bit longer than necessary. He demonstrated, holding her gaze until the air between them grew thick with tension. Like now? She asked. Exactly like now. He cleared his throat. Then there's finding excuses to be close, to touch in ways that seem casual but aren't. His hand found her knee, the touch light but deliberate. A gesture that could be friendly but
carries intention. Serena's hand covered his, her fingers intertwining with his own. And how does one know the difference between friendly and intentional? Context, frequency, the way someone leans in when they talk to you. I am finding myself doing exactly that, drawn by some gravitational force I couldn't name. The way they seem genuinely interested in everything you say, even mundane details about your work or your life. I am genuinely interested, Serena said, her other hand reaching up to brush a strand of hair from his forehead. The gesture was tender, achingly intimate. Tell me something mundane about yourself, Marcus. He caught her hand, pressing her palm against his cheek. I talk to my plants. Not just observations from my research, but actual conversations. I tell them about my day, my frustrations, my hopes. That's not mundane. That's beautiful. What else? I'm terrified of deep water, even though I've never had a bad experience with it. I drink too much coffee. I fall asleep reading research papers and wake up with impressions of data charts on my face. I haven't felt this way about anyone in years, and it's happening impossibly fast, and I can't bring myself to care that it should be concerning. Serena's breath hitched. On Veleron, we have a concept. Serevith. It means recognition. The idea that some souls know each other before minds do. That attraction can be instantaneous and true. She shifted closer until they were sharing breath. I think I'm experiencing Serevith with you. Show me more, Marcus said, his voice rough with want. How would someone from your world show they want this, want more? Her hand slid from his cheek to the back of his neck, fingers threading through his hair. We believe in honoring desire, not hiding from it. If I wanted to kiss you, I would tell you. I want to kiss you, Marcus. Thank God. He breathed, closing the distance. But Serena pulled back slightly, a playful glint in her eyes. But I also want to learn your way, the anticipation, the building tension. Show me how humans navigate this wanting. Marcus groaned softly, but smiled. You're killing me. Am I? Or am I making every eventual touch more meaningful? He captured her hand, kissing her palm, her wrist, the inside of her elbow. Both, definitely both.
Beneath the celestial canopy. The biodome's weather system activated without warning, releasing a gentle rain programmed to nourish the night-blooming species. Droplets fell like liquid diamonds through the artificial moonlight, catching on leaves and petals. Marcus grabbed Serena's hand instinctively, pulling her toward the nearest shelter, a greenhouse within the larger dome, its glass walls covered in bioluminescent climbing plants that pulsed with soft blue and violet light. They stumbled inside, breathless and laughing, their clothes dotted with moisture. The greenhouse was smaller, more intimate, filled with specimens that glowed in the darkness like captured stars. The rain created a rhythmic percussion against the glass, cocooning them in their own private world. I didn't expect that, Serena said, brushing water droplets from her arms. The movement made her skin shimmer in the bioluminescent glow. The system runs on automated cycles, Marcus explained, though he couldn't tear his eyes away from how the light played across her features. I should have anticipated it. Serena turned to him, her expression softening. I'm glad you didn't. This is perfect. She gestured at the glowing plants surrounding them. It's like standing inside a constellation. Marcus moved closer, drawn as surely as a compass to magnetic north. On Earth, we have stories about people making wishes on stars. If this were a real constellation, what would you wish for? More time, she said immediately, her smile fading to something more vulnerable. My assignment here is only for 2 weeks. Then I return to Veleron to compile my research. She reached for him, her hands settling on his chest. I know it's selfish, but
I wish I'd met you sooner, or that I could stay longer. The words struck him harder than expected. He'd been so caught up in the magnetic present that he hadn't considered the inevitable future. 2 weeks, he repeated, his hands finding her waist, pulling her closer. No, she agreed, her voice barely above a whisper. It's not. But perhaps it's enough time for this. She rose on her toes, eliminating the last inches between them. I don't want to leave Earth without knowing what it feels like to truly connect with you. Marcus cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs tracing her cheekbones. He leaned in slowly, giving her every opportunity to change her mind, but she only pulled him closer. Their lips met softly at first, a gentle exploration that sent warmth cascading through his entire body. Serena made a small sound of pleasure, her fingers curling into his shirt, and the kiss deepened. She tasted like starlight and promises, foreign and familiar all at once. Marcus felt the world narrow to just this, the softness of her mouth, the way she fit perfectly against him, the sound of rain and their mingled breathing. When they finally parted, neither moved far. Serena's forehead rested against his, her eyes still closed, a smile playing at her lips. That was worth waiting for. We're just getting started, Marcus murmured, trailing kisses along her jaw, down the column of her neck. She tilted her head back, giving him access, her hands threading through his hair. Marcus, she breathed, and his name on her lips sounded like music. On my world, when two people share Saraveth, they don't hold back. They honor what they feel fully, completely. He pulled back enough to meet her eyes, searching them. Are you sure? This is moving so fast. Serena's hands framed his face, her touch infinitely tender. When something is right, does speed matter? I know what I feel. I know what I want. Her thumb brushed his lower lip. The question is, do you?
Dawn's promise. Marcus answered by kissing her again, deeper this time, pouring everything he felt into the connection. They moved together through the bioluminescent garden, hands exploring, learning the map of each other's bodies. Serena's fingers traced the planes of his shoulders, his back, memorizing him through touch. His hands discovered the curve of her spine, the softness of her waist, the way she shivered when he kissed the sensitive spot behind her ear. They found a cushioned observation platform designed for researchers doing long-term plant monitoring. The rain continued its gentle song against the glass above them as they sank down together, wrapped in each other and the ethereal glow of the plants. There was no rush now, only reverence, the sacred act of truly seeing and being seen by another person. Tell me about Veleron, Marcus whispered against her shoulder, his hand tracing lazy patterns on her back. Tell me about home. Serena's voice was soft, dreamlike, twin moons that paint everything silver and gold, cities that grow rather than being built, living architecture that breathes with us, music that you feel in your bones before you hear it. She turned to look at him, her eyes luminous. But right now, this feels more like home than anywhere I've ever been. Marcus kissed her temple, her cheek, the corner of her mouth. I don't want you to leave. Then come with me, she said suddenly, propping herself up on one elbow to look down at him. When my assignment ends, come to Veleron. Your expertise in xenobotany would be invaluable. We have ecosystems you've never dreamed of, and we could have more than 2 weeks. His heart leapt at the possibility, even as his practical mind raised objections. I have my work here, my research grants, my lab. I know, her expression held understanding but also hope. I'm not asking you to decide now. Just consider it? Consider us? Marcus pulled her back down into his arms, holding her close. Through the glass ceiling, the simulated rain was clearing, revealing the artificial stars of the Biodome's night sky program. Dawn would come eventually, both literal and metaphorical, but for now they had this perfect suspended moment. I'll consider it, he promised, sealing the words with a kiss. I'll consider anything that means more time with you. They stayed entwined as the hours passed, talking and touching, sharing stories and kisses,
learning each other in all the ways that mattered. Serena told him about Velaronian bonding rituals, about the poetry of her people, about the gardens that sang with living harmonies. Marcus shared his dreams of discovering new species, his loneliness in his work, his unexpected joy at finding connection in the last place he'd ever expected. When the biodome's lights began their slow simulation of sunrise, painting everything in shades of rose and gold, they finally stirred. Serena traced the line of Marcus's jaw one more time, committing it to memory. "I have 12 more days on Earth. Spend them with me? All of them?" "Yes," Marcus answered without hesitation, "every moment you'll give me." They emerged from the greenhouse hand in hand, their clothes rumpled, their hair mussed, wearing matching expressions of contentment and wonder. The garden seemed different now, charged with new meaning, no longer just a place of scientific study, but the birthplace of something that transcended worlds. As they walked through the awakening biodome, Serena paused by the celestial jasmine where they first truly connected. She plucked a single bloom and tucked it behind Marcus's ear, her smile radiant. In Velaronian tradition, when you give someone a flower, you're giving them a promise. This bloom will fade, but what we've started won't. She kissed him softly, sweetly. Whether you come to Velaron or I find a way to return to Earth, this isn't an ending. Marcus caught her hand, lacing their fingers together. "It's a beginning." "Yes," she agreed, her eyes bright with possibility, "the best kind." They left the gardens together as true morning broke over the facility, neither knowing exactly what the future held, but both certain of one truth. Some connections transcend distance, species, and even worlds. What had begun with a simple compliment in a fragrant garden had blossomed into something rare and precious, a love that proved the universe was far more vast and wonderful than either had imagined. And they had 12 more days to nurture it, to let it grow strong enough to survive whatever came next. 12 days to build a foundation that could bridge the stars. It would be enough. It would have to be. But somehow, looking at each other in the golden morning light, both knew it would be more than enough. It would be everything.